sing the thunder song.
Wait.
When you hear the sound of thunder, don't you get too scared. Just grab your thunder buddy and say these magic words.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Thunder Buddies podcast, our first mobile edition of these 2016 playoffs, and a Sunday afternoon edition. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to do it.
Oh, we all came together in the downtown area for the Thunder Buddies podcast.
So, game one, did that go anywhere near how you were expecting?
The enormity of the blowout was way more than I expected, but I expected the Thunder to dominate.
Yeah, it was an 11-point line, and once I saw Monty Williams in the building, I don't know, you could feel the energy.
The crowd was definitely, from the tip top, the crowd was definitely more juice than maybe any point other than Golden State Saturday night game.
Yeah, and I don't know, does the T-shirts do something for you? I feel like it does for me.
I think it's like those little things too, those little noisemaker things.
Yeah, the clappers and the shirts. I don't know. It's like the unity of it.
Well, I guess. I mean, it'd just make me hot if I had to put on a T-shirt over what I was already wearing. But of course, AC Slater, that wouldn't be a problem with him. You just take off whatever shirt he's wearing and put on the new one.
I might not have one at that time.
You might not even show up with one. You were made for the NBA playoffs.
I'd frankly be a little bit annoyed if with the guy who the PA guy was making people put the T-shirts on. He was like, "All right, guys, put on your T-shirts." Like he's trying to implore people to put the T-shirts on. I kind of just wave it over my head or something. Like I'm warm-natured.
But the funny thing is, I feel like a lot of places, like if you watch Atlanta, like the Atlanta game, they had those bright yellow ones, but there's people are wearing them like spotty. Like there's a lot of people in Atlanta who are like, I'm just trying to wear the outfit I came to in here because it looks good.
They get widespread cooperation
in Oklahoma City. You know where they do? Golden State had pretty much everyone wearing them, and that's just because they're just so in love with that team that they'll just do anything.
You know, Dallas historically, I went through the playoff series 11 and 12 with those Mavs, and Dallas really shames you. I mean, the PA and the videographer will put it on the big screen. They try to shame people into putting on the.
Well, I heard the Thunder PA guy last night that was like, "All right, get your T-shirts on." Like I was just like, "All right, bro. Like, why are you demanding?" But it works. Anyways, like I said, when I saw Monty Williams in the building, I was like, okay, he's probably going to talk to the team pregame, and they're probably going to be super jacked about it. Like that, not that they needed this huge boost because of everything that's come before it, which was, not making the playoffs last year, Durant injuries, everything, all the criticism. So you knew they were going to be juiced, but I think that Monty Williams added to it. And when it was 9-0, it was over. Like you just knew it was over.
When it was 9-0, it never got closer than 9 the rest of the way. No, it got 15-7, so they got within 8. But
okay, I think it was 9-2 at one point, right?
Yeah, I think it was 9. No, I think it was 9-0. But then 15-7 is as close as they got after that. But yeah, it was it's a terrible matchup. When Dallas doesn't shoot it well and gets guarded the way they did, let me tell you the scary thing for the Mavs. The Thunder wasn't that great on offense last night.
No.
45% shooting, 18 turnovers, and only 13 second chance points. They're capable of a lot more than that. So, I don't think they're going to win by 39 the rest of the way. However, I think there's going to be some nights where it's going to be a lot tougher for Dallas when the Thunder has the ball.
The number one obvious takeaway was the defense. That's the type of defense you forget that they can play, and then when they start doing it, you're like, oh my God, I forgot the athletes that are out there at every position. Just think about their starting lineup. Steven Adams, 7 foot, like just brick in the post. You cannot move him in the post. Yet he's quick enough to go out and guard Dirk at times.
Very good athlete.
Stretch forth. Great athlete. Serge Ibaka, everyone knows the type of athlete he was. Obviously, this season has looked, back and forth at times, but he was fantastic last night. So when he's at that level, now you have 2 supreme athletes in the front court, and then Durant. I thought Durant might have been their best defender last night. He was, in and out, rotating back, especially early on. So you got him at the 3. You got Westbrook, who if he's trying and under team concepts, might be the best point guard defender in the league. And then you got Andre Robertson at the 2. That's like 5 elite level defenders when they're playing like that.
It's alarming to see it in action when you watch them all season and seeing some of the lapses they've had. You're like, all right, where's it been? And I guess on like one hand, you want to be like, okay, it's 82 games. They can't play like that all the time. But at the same time, you think to yourself, if they played this way against Chicago on Christmas or
Cleveland, remember that Cleveland
the Cleveland blowout game, you're like, maybe they'd have 4 more wins or something like that. And the play that stood out to me was that play where Barea took that 3 and Durant was kind of hopping in between Barea, and I think it was like, who was on the perimeter?
Wes Matthews, I think. Yeah.
But Barea had to hesitate because Durant's so long, and he was like in between him, and Durant was able to basically guard 2 guys at one time.
That was really early in the game. I think that was one of the first few possessions.
And Barea just took this 3 because he got that little sliver of space, but he didn't want to take the 3, but Durant's just so long and athletic that he was able to kind of close that space.
Yeah, the play that I think has stood out to me, and it definitely stood out to Barry because he was the lead of your story, and I put it in the 5 observations post online. But that one, first of all, Durant's guarding J.J. Barea at times. He's a foot taller than Barea, but he's not like, he doesn't have like a quickness disadvantage.
He may be almost as quick.
Which is just ridiculous. And so the possession starts with Barea kind of trying to find a seam, and then he tries to like throw a pass by Durant, and it was just like Durant just bats it right back to him. Then at one point, Westbrook's guarding Dirk in the post, but he pokes it away. Robertson's closing out on people. They swing it to Devin Harris, who another point guard trying to go by Durant. He can't go by Durant. And then Robertson kind of just forces Wesley Matthews into a late clock heave. I mean, that right there, if you can go online and see it, I tweeted it out, but like that is the type of possession that makes you believe that regardless of if this team was 17, 18 games behind the Warriors at the end of the season, if they play like that, are they not at that level of those teams?
I don't know if they're at the Golden State San Antonio level, but they're in the ballpark. I mean, they can make that series awfully interesting, either series. But I don't know that, even playing out of your mind, you don't get to 73 wins. Even playing consistent basketball when they haven't this year would have gotten them to 67 wins. Yeah. So they're not as good as those 2 teams, but they can, they can compete with them. Playing like that, they can compete with them, which means they can beat them in a series.
All right, let's go. First, let's do a Thunder takeaway. Then let's do a Mavericks takeaway. Everyone's got to do one. Who's going first? Thunder takeaway.
All right, here's my Thunder takeaway. The Thunder has Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook on the perimeter. And yet, their biggest edge in this series is the overwhelming disparity in the interior. I mean, Pachulia, the Tunisian, JaVale McGee, Powell, Charlie Villanueva, whoever they're talking about. I mean, the Thunder's got 3 guys that just aren't better than any of those, but way better.
Not only that, like as you were saying this point, we have a play on the screen because we're at my house and there's the game's on, and the Thunder just got like 7 offensive rebounds.
Yeah. I think it's where they got 4 and missed them all.
That was the last possession of the first quarter where everybody on the floor took a shot and missed except Durant, and they all got offensive rebounds.
And, we can get into, how good and deep I think the Thunder interior is with Adams, with Ibaka playing like that, with Kanter, with even Collison playing some steady minutes, and then Durant at the 4. But I think the story here, if we're talking Maverick takeaway, is how they have a really bad front court. I mean, Dirk's Dirk, but Pachulia is just beat up and old, it looks like.
Yeah, but he's better than the Tunisian looked lost after talking about blocking all those shots.
After a couple of minutes, he was a non-factor.
Think Durant scored on him in the first 3-4 minutes and stared him down because Kevin Durant reads everything, so I'm assuming he saw that quote. Well,
what we saw last night is how good of a coach Rick Carlisle has been all season to get this team to the playoffs.
Yeah. But also just I keep saying this, but how bad the West it was, 42 and 40 shouldn't have got it in.
It's not a deep conference, no doubt about it.
All right. Thunder takeaway, Eric.
Thunder takeaway for me is this is exactly what I expected of them. Not, like Barry said, not to the magnitude of like a 40-point blowout, but this is exactly what I expected of them from this series, considering the Mavericks' injuries and the Thunder's advantage in so many aspects. But I'm surprised at the intensity they came out with. That's my biggest takeaway. The intensity really surprised me. I know it's the playoffs, but defensively, that kind of blew me away. Being a neophyte to this whole Thunder playoff thing, that was stunning to me that they came out and it clearly looked like a switch was flipped.
Sometimes I think we just put too much value in the regular season and what we see.
There's some truth to that.
They should have played better defense this year, more consistent defense. There was games that were concerning. I really thought the Cleveland game at home set up as play it kind of like a playoff game, and they just got routed.
But then if we don't put any value on that, what do we write about? Like we say, we write every week, don't worry about it. Wait till the playoffs, guys. We're going to write that in December?
I mean, it's tough because we have to write about an 82-game season where there's so many, lulls and energy and everything. We have to try to kind of make, I don't want to say definitive statements, but we have to make takeaways. And there's no reason for us to have not written what we wrote, but, that's a completely different team if they play like that.
Yeah.
Just completely different. Changes everything.
And here's the thing, and we've said this, but it remains true. If the Spurs and Warriors had just been normal great, we wouldn't sit there and be worried about the Thunder throwing away 2 or 3 games that made them a 55-win team instead of 58, 59, 60. But when somebody wins 67 or 73, then all of a sudden you sit there and think, well, can somebody that's 18 games worse win the title? So that's really what's going on. It's not just this regular season, but the historic nature of the regular season.
Here's a question. Are the Thunder sort of front runners in the sense that when they get up against a team that has clear deficiencies, that they're clearly superior than, they can overwhelm them? But when they get up against a team that can match them man for man and that can play them straight up, they kind of crumble?
We're going to find out.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
We will find out.
Because they look super dominant against this team, Dallas, that has injuries, clear mismatches at numerous positions.
Yeah, one thing that I'd say maybe encourages is I feel like this was the exact type of energy they came out with that Warriors game at home, where they really outplayed the Warriors for 45 minutes. What is concerning is that they crumbled in the last 3 minutes. Steph Curry went off, hit the game winner. Everyone remembers that. But I really do think that was maybe one of their best games of the year. And when they were playing like that, the Warriors were playing pretty good. I mean, I know Draymond Green had a really bad game, but Curry had, I think he tied an NBA record for threes in that game. But the Thunder, I would argue were the better team that day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, right there is what makes you think maybe if they play with that type of energy, it will be a very competitive series with Golden State. It's so early, though. It is one
they
game.
They got to get
there. They may lay an egg against the Mavs on Monday because they're so confident after this game.
Well, even if you lay an egg, you might win.
Yeah, that's
physical superiority is massive in this series.
Well, that's the thing you want to see, though, I think, with the Thunder, like you said, they might win even if they just don't play that well. They turn it over. They don't play that hard of defense. You want to see them put together 3-4 straight games of this. I don't know if they will.
Yeah, well, I mean, 3 or 4 straight games of easy wins.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect them to be up
defense,
44 points.
I think it's the defense. Just this type of defense every night.
Yeah, I don't know if you can even do that. I mean, Mavericks had 66 points with 34
seconds left. I'm not saying you need them to you said, shut them down.
But I mean, if they beat them 104 to 86, I mean, to me that's another impressive win.
Yeah,
and it's a manner of victory to me too. I mean, the way they were moving the ball last night is what you want to see. The way that they were getting Kanter some post touches was what you want to see. Kyle Singler hitting shots.
Barry called him the second best player off the bench last night.
I don't think there's a question about that. Is there a question about that?
Okay, Enes Kanter was clearly the best, 16 and 13.
I mean, Foy was terrible.
Foy went 1 of 6. Waiters went 1 of 9.
Now, Collison gave him some decent defense.
He did.
Yeah, Collison played pretty well.
I thought Collison was good.
But But I thought Singler was solid. He had 2 threes.
Yeah, he hit both of his threes. He had, of course, 2 fouls. He loves to foul. 3 rebounds. I mean, he just played last night like the Thunder paid him to play. Which is he hit a couple open threes, play your smart defense, rebound, like chip in and elsewhere. Don't do anything bad. The problem is, what is to hint that he will continue to play that way? From what we've seen.
He played pretty well in San Antonio, so it looks like he's back on one of his many hot streaks. Hot streak for him.
The Kyle Singler hot streak.
For Kyle Singler, to see a 3 go down, I think is a positive.
And that wasn't even a wide open 3. I mean, the guy was in his face.
The second
degree.
one. Yeah. The first one was wide open. The second one was he like pumped, like sidestepped and drilled it. I think it like ended the third quarter. That was pretty fun. But this is the second straight podcast. Last podcast, Barry Trammell basically calls Kyle Singler LeBron James. And this podcast, he's talking about the jump man's up to something with a hot streak. I think he's calling for him to get in the starting lineup over Durant.
Well, I don't know. You made a big deal of this the other day when you brought up LeBron. But Singler he's been overly maligned this season. There's not any question about that.
Yeah.
I think early on, he was. Now he's bad early on, but I think he was early on. He didn't get enough credit when he started getting good either.
Yeah, I guess that's my thing with him. Like I think he gets properly killed in the games where he deserves to get killed. But he had about a month where he was one of their better bench players, which included. Remember when they went out to L.A. Golden State? They lost that game, but he was like getting back in transition. Like I think he blocked Klay Thompson at the rim at one point.
And when they had that 8-game run after they lost to the Spurs, I thought he played pretty well in that stretch too. And then he got the back injury.
Yeah.
And the back injury, he was just terrible after the back injury.
He missed 16 straight threes. Like I don't know. I think Donovan needs to recognize early what Singler's out there and maybe go to Morrow if it's going to be the one that's just going to foul everything and hit nothing.
What's interesting is this is not a team with which Singler's particularly valuable. They don't run. Singler gets back on defense. They don't have a big wing that Singler can help, give Durant some relief.
Morrow is more valuable in this.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a series where Singler ought to be, particularly needed.
Them not having Chandler Parsons really changes a lot of
Exactly.
things.
If Chandler Parsons is in the game, then all of a sudden you need Singler to play 8 minutes a game to give Durant a spell.
Yeah.
But they missed Chandler Parsons.
Okay, Randy Foye last night, 1 of 6, I believe. 1 of 4 from 3. Hasn't really been – it's weird because I feel like when they traded for him, you were like, oh, this guy's a pretty good offensive player. What is he as a defender? And now that he's here, it's like, he's a decent defender, but, man, he's not a good offensive player anymore.
No, he's not. And he hasn't run the offense great as the backup. He's a backup point. But, it's a case that they sort of stuck with him.
Yeah.
Because they've set the sail without Cameron Payne for the most part.
Yeah. What do you do in that situation? Because, look, Payne sat game 1 with hip soreness, but he was dancing his face off pregame.
He was dancing his. He danced more vigorously in pregame last night than at any point I've seen him all year.
I don't know.
He was bouncing. He was bouncing
had
around.
Some vigorous dances this
before his customary dance with Westbrook. He was doing a lot of bouncing around the huddle and things like that. So I mean, I imagine we'll see him in the next couple games. I mean, does he take some of Foy's minutes?
I think in this series he should. To me, he's a lot more playable than Foy. You get him playoff experience, get him minutes out there. I would play him. The only problem is, looking ahead, I think they want to be clicking as much as they can going into that Spurs series. Mm-hmm. And I think Donovan thinks he's going to play Foy more than Payne against the Spurs. So my guess is he will keep playing Foy. I don't think he necessarily should. There's an Angry Birds movie. Is this a fact? What? It's outrageous.
I don't know anything about it.
That was an app. Do you even know what the Angry Birds are, Barry?
No.
Your grandchildren don't play Angry Birds? I'm sure they do.
They probably do. Maybe
so
they do.
it's an app, or at least it started as an app on a cell phone where you just shoot birds out of a slingshot at, like, pigs
animals
that are like set up on this. I don't know. It's like a very simple game, and I guess it's exploded so much. There's literally a movie being made.
I got a question. What was more stunning to y'all yesterday in the NBA games? The Golden State blowout of Houston or the Thunder's blowout of the Mavericks?
The Thunder's blowout of the Mavs, probably.
I guess.
I mean, the Warriors have done that to teams all year. And, like, it's the Rockets. There was a high chance they were just going to, especially if they got down early, which they did, they were just going to kind of fold.
I guess, you know what, here's what I would say. I would say more stunning was the Thunder because they kept it up.
Yeah.
You know, the Golden State's up 60-33 at halftime. Thunder up 59-33 at halftime, virtually the same. Golden State just sort of breezed through the second half, ended up winning by 24. Thunder got up by 44 and won by 38. So they put it on him on both halves. When he cleared the bench, it became an even game. Last 6 minutes, you know, was still Dallas made no inroads.
And the Thunder were playing a team with more fortitude, you know what I mean? To withstand a run and come back, like
better coach, better star in terms of
we are totally just describing Houston as I guess as an abject failure this season, right?
They're a pirate ship.
It sounds like a proper description by us if that's what we're
doing.
They're
a pirate ship of a football team.
I wish you were the columnist covering the Houston Rockets. I would just love to read your column.
Well, that would be drudgery.
But I would enjoy your columns.
Well, thank you.
About drudgery.
I think it'd be.
How many times per week would you use the word drudgery and pirates?
Well, I'd try to limit it to about once every 3 weeks. I try not to use the same words over and over and over. I might go with the Astros. That's what I might do.
Yeah, they're interesting. Texans could be decent. Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, I'd write about the draft, the NFL draft.
Yeah.
They need something to look forward to because I don't think a majority of those players really.
What are they going to do this offseason? Howard's going to leave. They're going to make this like wild.
Beverly's getting old. They don't have a great.
They're going to go after Durant.
Yeah, I mean
they are going to go after Durant.
Yeah, well, they had a lot better chance last summer than they do this summer. I mean, why would anyone? I'm not talking about Durant. Why would like Al Horford go there?
Why would anybody sign on with a pirate ship? Doesn't sound like a good idea.
Well, there are plenty of pirates out there. That's what Michael Beasley just signed on.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, but we're not. Al Horford is not Michael Beasley.
Yeah, for sure.
It feels like a lot of teams that had an opportunity or who were being buzzed about going after Durant this season have kind of submarined their chances, like Washington. And just the way they played this year.
Yeah.
Do you think any of these front offices? I seriously have a feeling Washington's like, let's hire Scott Brooks. This is it. This is the move.
Some of them seem to operate that way.
Thunder, checkmate.
It looks even worse in the wake of the rumors about the Knicks looking at Scott. Remember those Knicks rumors about bringing in Scott Brooks to potentially be a Durant?
Well, that was funny because it was like. You just had Derek Fisher. I thought he was the guy.
Right.
Now hey, hold on quickly. I want to rewind the play. I just saw it because I saw it last night. By the way, listeners, this is at about 8 minutes of the second. It's Kanter taking it out of bounds, gives it to Westbrook. Kanter follows it well, but look, he Euro steps here. Then look at Steven Adams on the bench Euro step. Look at Adams. That is a fantastic looking Euro step from the bench by Steven Adams.
It was a jig. It was like a little jig.
There was a jig.
It was like a jig in a phone booth.
That was a peek at if Steven Adams ever tried to Euro step like Enes Kanter can.
I wouldn't put it past Steven Adams getting a Euro step in the next couple years.
Which, by the way, another Enes Kanter quality. Runs the floor.
He does
extremely well.
And he is nifty. Like, it's crazy. In that Stats Brothers story I did, like I really should do like a bonus post with all the different quotes I got that weren't in the story. But Adams was talking about it, and he was like, it's like mesmerizing how good his footwork is on offense and how brutal it is on defense. Like,
it's a great point.
It's
a great
crazy.
point, though.
He has like maybe the best big man footwork in the league. It's like
But Adams actually said that?
Yeah. I could probably find the quote.
But that's the great thing about those two guys working together, because how much do you think they're learning from each other on both sides? I mean, we've seen Adams get better offensively, and we've seen Kanter get better defensively, and I think that's directly a product of those guys working together every day.
Okay. More likely, Serge Ibaka plays at least similarly to how he played last night. He's not going to go 7 of 8 and hit all 3 of his threes every game, but he's going to play energized. He's going to block shots. He's going to hit his jumper. Or he reverts back, gets a little tired. It was just because he had a long break, and the playoff atmosphere kind of got him juiced up, and he'll go back to kind of how he played in the regular season. Because I think that might be the most important factor.
I'm going to say it's more likely he keeps playing well, because I think Serge gets fired up for the playoffs. He's got a good playoff record. He's not been a no-show in the playoffs. He's been the difference against San Antonio often.
He's going to be huge against them. He has to be huge against
them. So I think there's reason to. Now, the one thing I fear is that he gets so fired up about that 3 for 3 from 3 that he goes about 1 of 8 tomorrow night.
Yeah, that one in transition, I was like, and then he hit it. I was like, all right. Now, I feel like he's got a better chance of sustainability with the way he's playing now because of who he's playing. Now, if he was playing Karl Anthony Towns and then San Antonio on back-to-back nights, that'd be a different story.
Yeah.
But he's playing against,
Now, I will say this for him. He spent most of the night last night on the floor going mano-mano with about the only decent Maverick, Dirk. Because Dirk actually played pretty well.
Dirk hit some shots.
He's 7 of 15, but he had to work for him.
He hit a banker from 10 feet out.
It was crazy.
It was just kissed so perfectly,
it was.
High
it
off
looked
glass.
It looked like a pitching wedge.
It looked
right
like
angle,
the opposite of what Andre Robertson does, where it's like he hit the same point in the backboard that Andre Robertson hit, but it was clearly unintentional, whereas Dirk's was perfectly angled.
It's a case of, it wasn't just that this was not a great playoff team, Dallas, and anything's got to be through that prism. However, Serge was going against the one redeeming thing about this Dallas team.
Okay, Steven Adams. It wasn't as outrageous as I said, but I just kind of like watching him play defense because it's funny sometimes. The progress he's made has been amazing, but it's funny how he does the little things. He actually has bad feet for defense, but on offense it's ridiculous. He has incredible feet. But then on defense he just kind of stumbles everywhere.
Maybe I'll steal that from you today. I'm writing about Enes.
There you go.
Enes the Menace.
The Menace. What are you writing?
I think I'll just write about how he just bullied the Mavericks last night. They can't. And here's what's interesting. His game and his personality is all interesting because he's really physical and just sort of a brute force to get the ball, and then he becomes real skilled when he's got the ball. Yeah. But his personality is such as, he's got the reputation and admits it's legit that he was a sourpuss in Utah and not a good teammate and all those things. But if you talk to him, he's really sort of got.
He's the nicest guy on the team.
It's like a sweet. He's got a sweet personality. If somebody wanted me to describe Enes Kanter's personality, I'd say sweet. And but that's sort of counterintuitive from a Turk. You think a Turk sort of.
To be honest, I think a lot of the history of some of the incident or whatever you want to call it. In Utah, before that, I think, number one, he's just thrown into a system that just ate him up, which was professional basketball.
Yeah, at the age of 16,
Yes, which was there. And then when he's trying to go to the U.S. to play for the NCAA, his Turkish team's trying to get him back, so they're doing a lot of things. He's got such a complicated story. Then the NCAA screws him. Then the lockout happens. Then Utah happens. And then the other problem is he... that made me lose my train of thought. The Thunder practice just opened up. That's what.
In other words, we need to be up there.
Yeah. So let me finish this thought, then we'll finish this podcast.
Okay.
I really
Enes Kanter.
Yeah, I know. I don't remember what my point was about him though.
The system ate him up.
The system made him more.
It ate him up.
Oh! His team around him, like his agent was telling him he was a generational talent, and yeah, I think that has a lot to do with why he's kind of gained the reputation that he has. But anyway, lasting thoughts as we head towards Game 2?
No, I think Thunder will win easy again.
I agree. I just want to see the same consistent play. I want to see the same ball movement. I want to see the same commitment to defense. I don't want to see any lapses.
All right. Well, we will talk to you again. Sorry for shortening the podcast, but we will talk to you again Tuesday morning. See you.
Durant, pull-up jumper, off the rim, and and the Thunder win! All right, come on, let's sing the Thunder song. When you hear the sound of thunder, don't you get too scared. Just grab your Thunder buddy and say these magic words.